Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenyan McDuffie. I'm council member for Ward 5, and I want to thank everybody for being here this evening. I am joined by folks from Beacon House, including Rodney Cephas. We've got Ricardo Duran. We've got Silas Grant, Tony Lewis Jr., Kenneth Ward, Paul Weinstock, and a host of other ANC commissioners, civic association leadership, and community members. And we're gathered here today to reclaim our community.
Yes.
We're gathered here to raise the level of awareness of the scourge of gun violence that's plaguing our community. We know what the problem is. When a person uses a gun to solve a conflict, it's a problem. When a person decides to use a gun to rob someone, that's a problem. The proliferation of illegal firearms on our streets is a problem. And the culture of gun violence in our communities is a problem.
Yeah.
We know what the problem is. So tonight, we're going to encourage people to focus on the solutions. We want innovative solutions to solve this intractable issue of gun violence in our neighborhoods. Let's resist the temptation to do what we know is not going to solve the problem. We've got dedicated men and women in blue in the Metropolitan Police Department. But they know, and our chief of police will tell you, you cannot lock your way out of this problem.
That's right.
You can't arrest your way out of this problem. This problem is going to be solved by residents working with government, working with neighborhood organizations to solve this issue. The reality that we're dealing with is, if someone has a gun and they want to shoot someone, they're going to figure out a way to do it. But we can reclaim our community, and starting tonight, to make sure that we're working together to create an environment where these individuals who carry guns understand that they are not welcome.
Amen.
A community where our young folks can walk from a program designed to get them into college home to their houses.
Amen.
A community where a young woman, days away from starting college, can drive freely and unimpeded on the district streets. Enough is enough. And we've come together this evening in unity, in solidarity, to say enough is enough. I'm going to turn it over to Tony Lewis Jr., and then we're going to have some remarks from Kenneth Ward, who heads College Bound, where Zaire Kelly was a member. Tony?
Thank you, Council Member. Good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Lewis, and my remarks are going to be really brief. I stand just representing the activist community and people like Silas Grant and Paul Weinstock and Ricardo Duran, Mr. Cephas here at Beacon House, and Kenneth Ward. I want every DC resident to understand that this is not a native Washingtonian problem. This is not a young adult problem or a black problem. This is our problem as residents of the District of Columbia. And tonight, what we're doing here is about illustrating that it's going to take all of us to make our young people safe, to make our communities safe. And we got to bring our genius and our skill sets to the table. We're going to set up a situation through the council member's office where people can register to volunteer and list what resources they're connected to, list what their attributes and their skills are. And we're going to utilize you as citizens. DC is a place that people from all over the world is moving to. And there's not enough connectivity to the people that have been here, and we want to be the bridge for that. And I think we don't look at it that way, but that's what's going to make our community safe. That's what's going to take away the level of desperation for young people feeling like they got to put guns in their hand and go out there and essentially hunt or prey on other people. That's what's making our students, our young scholars, putting them at risk and putting them in harm's way because the streets aren't safe. Young people need to know that they can turn to somebody. We're right amongst them and they feel invisible. And we got to make them know that they're not invisible, that we love them, that we care about them. And hopefully that builds a certain level of buy-in and accountability for them and their behavior because they know what they do don't just affect themselves, it affects all of us. So we got to move as a community every chance we get in every way. This issue has to cross all racial, religious, political lines and say we need to make our city safe. We need to make our streets safe. As a husband and as a father, I want my children to grow up in a place where I can be stress-free. I'm going to always worry about my children, but I can't worry about my babies getting hit by a stray bullet or somebody stabbing my child or shooting my child over some material thing. You know what I mean? That's important. And I think we can do this. It's a sad time, it's a negative time, but it is not impossible. But if we don't come together, public, private, nonprofit, resident, police officer, politician, clergy, if we don't, business owners, if we don't come together, then we're going to continue to have things like this. And are you guys tired? I'm tired. Right?
We've been tired.
Like the councilman said, enough is enough. We tired of funerals. We tired of consoling families. We supposed to be rejoicing. We supposed to be talking about our young people going to college and starting businesses and creating the most amazing innovations. This is what we want for our community, and this is what we can't have, but it's going to take us to do it together. So I'm going to close there, and I'm going to bring up the executive director of College Bound, Mr. Kenneth Ward.
All right.
First of all, I want to thank the council member for bringing everyone together tonight. But this is bigger than Zaire. This is bigger than Ward 5. This is bigger than any one person. This problem plagues the city. It plagues our nation. And one of the things that I look at as a veteran educator is that schools are failing our kids. Schools are failing our kids.
Yes.
We know that the school-to-prison pipeline is real. We have to hold schools accountable. We have to hold each other accountable. We have to be in those classrooms. We have to volunteer. We have to mentor kids. We have to change their trajectory so that kids will have opportunities. Zaire was amazing. I saw Zaire less than 2 hours before he was killed last Wednesday. I was here at the Beacon House site. It was our first night of sight. Everything that we've asked that kid to do for the last 3 years, he was doing. He was glowing, radiating. He was ready to ascend to a different plane. He shared with me that last Friday, the representative from Florida A&M University would be meeting with him, and he was excited because that was his #1 choice of colleges. He also shared with me what he wanted to study, and that dream will never come true for him, but that does not negate the fact that it cannot come true for other young people in this city. Zaire left a mark on the program. This has certainly changed and recommitted the College Bound program to what we're calling the Year of Zaire. We're dedicating our efforts to making sure that no young person that we can come across will get lost in this crazy system. My heart breaks for Zaire and his family, but it also breaks for the assailant because he was 19 and somehow he had missed some of the opportunities that the nation's capital holds for so many people. DC has one of the highest rates of just new folk moving into the city. There are new condos coming up around the city, and people move here because there are opportunities. We have to ensure that those same opportunities that people move to the nation's capital for don't escape the children who are born into the city. And I think a big part of that are adults not turning their eyes, but adults being engaged and adults saying, you know what? I'm going to get off the sofa for one night this week. I'm going to do something and mentor a kid. I'm going to give back. I'm going to sow a seed into someone's life to change their life trajectory. That's what this is about. We're a community. If a bomb drops right now, it will get all of us. And I think what some of us do is we get real safe in our homes. We get safe with what our kids are doing. This is not about your child. This is about the children that your child rides the metro with. This is about the children who would be in a movie theater with your child. This is incumbent for all people to have the sense and the courage to give back in a very meaningful way. At College Bound this year, we're serving over 200 students. We'd like to serve more students, but we need the resources to sustain and grow this program so we can reach more folk. And sadly to say, every year we have a wait list of students because we can't get qualified adults to come out to mentor kids. So the problem is not necessarily the kids. The problem happens to be the adults who are raising the kids and not giving back to these kids. So I think until we start taking responsibility for our children will continue to do what someone has told them that it's okay to do. In the words of Secretary of Education Arnie Duncan, I heard him a couple of years ago, and he said everyone's being mentored. Some people just have good mentors. So I want to leave you with that. So while you're in the confines of your home or while you're doing whatever it is that you love to do, just remember that these other kids are being mentored. We just want to make sure that everyone has a positive mentor in their life. I think when we look at the leadership of the council member, I've heard his story. He wasn't always on the fast track, but he persevered, he made it, and he's serving this city now. And the fact that he's here tonight calling you together on his birthday speaks volumes about his commitment to the city and to these issues. I hope that you will not walk away from here tonight and this will just be another visual, another camera, another person up talking to you, and life will continue. I think that we owe it to Zaire and the children of the city. We owe them more than that. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
So just to close this out, I want to thank everybody for being here, including the folks who spoke and everybody else who took an opportunity and a moment from their busy Fridays to come out and stand with us. Just in terms of the logistics, after we wrap up here, we're going to take a walk for peace. The route has already been mentioned. We've got some folks out here that are going to help direct us. The walk is going to end up at 14th and Downing Street, which was the site where Zaire Kelly was murdered. I want to mention that we've been in contact with the families of Jamari Sidnor as well as Zaire Kelly, and obviously they're grieving. But we want to let them know, and everybody, including Robert Arthur's family and others who've lost their lives across the District of Columbia, that they're in my personal thoughts and prayers, and we're going to keep lifting them up and keep supporting them. But tonight is about reclaiming the community.
Yeah.
Tonight is about people being uncomfortable with what's been happening in the District of Columbia. A lot of these folks who are behind me, they're already involved. And a lot of them are doing it without compensation. But we need other members of the community not to turn a blind eye to what's happening. We know you care because you come up to me in the grocery store and you tell me. You come up to me in the library and you tell me. You come down to the Wilson building and you tell me how much you care about this problem. And I'm asking everybody who can hear us talk tonight, who might see us walk tonight, to redouble their efforts to stop this problem of gun violence in our communities. It's not just about Jamari Sidnor and Zaire Kelly. It's obviously a much broader problem. But when you lose promising 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds
Yeah.
who've done everything that they've been asked to do,
Yeah.
when parents have to bury their children, which is not the natural order, everybody should be outraged by that. So we're going to walk and we're going to focus on solutions. It doesn't end tonight. If you have solutions, is it something you want to offer? Then we've got folks lined up at this table over to my right. If you think about it when you go home and you have something you want to offer, you can visit my website at kenyamcduffie.com/reclaim. We've been hard at work, but clearly we have more work to do. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I encourage everybody to walk with us if you're able to, physically. And if you have a sleeping bag, come sleep with us as well.
That's right.
And if you don't have a sleeping bag, we got some extra ones as well. So thank you for being here. Members of the community, members of our faith community, members of organized labor, members of our business community, and importantly, thank you to the Metropolitan Police Department
Yes.
for your hard
Yes.
work. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Bob.